My name's Linda Fox. I'm senior reporter with PhocusWire, and I'm delighted to welcome Max Starkov. Thanks for joining us, Max. Now, you are a consultant, a hotel technology strategist. You've founded and run your own businesses in the technology space, and you're never short of something to say. So just set the scene for us. What are guests demanding? Is it more automation driven by the pandemic, or is it actually a friendly face after 2 years of being locked up?
Well, Linda, first of all, thank you for having me here. The pandemic is not some kind of I would say, a black curtain that has shielded travel consumers from the rest of the world. I mean, people have been traveling during the pandemic. In the United States, for example, occupancies last year were only slightly below 2019 and so forth. So in this sense, people have been traveling during the pandemic, especially in North America, in some European countries, naturally, mostly domestic travel. But in this sense, people are not so much eager to see human faces when they enter a hotel. And I'll explain that. Last year and the previous year, over 1/3 of accommodations, of room nights at accommodations took place at vacation rentals, or the so-called short-term rentals. Mm-hmm. When you book a short-term rental on Airbnb and you arrive at your property, you never see your host. You don't talk to your host. You don't see a housekeeper. You don't see a front desk clerk. And yet people are extremely happy. And actually, if we see the trajectory of short-term rentals, you will see that they're growing in importance. And if short-term rentals were 19% back in 2019 from overall total accommodation nights spent, last year they were more than 1/3. So short-term rentals are increasing. People are preferring short-term rentals. One of the reasons is they don't want to see people. They don't want to see other people serving them. Okay, that's one of the reasons, and I believe that we in our industry are simply fooling ourselves in thinking that hospitality means human-provided services. I believe that that's not what the traveling public wants.
Okay, well, if we accept that that's the case, what do you believe are the gaps that automation can fill?
Well, I mean, there are a lot of, I would say, mundane, repetitive, even dangerous jobs in hospitality that can easily be replaced by automation, by robots, by AI powered applications and so forth. I'll give you one example. Housekeeping. Housekeeping is the most labor intensive I would say function in hospitality. Do you really want to meet your housekeeper while you're staying at a hotel? No. Do you really want to be disturbed while you're in the room by somebody knocking on the door? Housekeeping, can we clean your room while you're in the room? No, we don't want to do this. So in this sense, housekeeping, for example, can easily not be replaced today because simply the technology is not there. But housekeeping consists of 120 to 150 to 175 different tasks. And 75% of those tasks can be done today by robots. First of all, floor cleaning robots, toilet cleaning robots, robots that move back and forth, clean linen and towels, and schlepping back, dirty linen and so forth. So in this sense, a team of humans working together with cobots, these are collaborative robots that work together with humans, they can easily do the job. And by the way, if you currently need 10, 15, 20 housekeepers, in the near future, you will need only 5 of them to supervise the robots and to do some of the things that robots still cannot do. One of them being tucking beds. Why do we tuck beds in our industry? This is such a 1950s concept. Nobody tucks beds at home. Why do we continue to tuck beds in our industry, which requires humans today because robots simply cannot do it? And I believe there will be new hotels, there will be new vision in this respect, and I believe that tucking beds will become obsolete in the next several years.
That's interesting. I mean, I actually know people who liked getting into a tucked bed, but there you go. That's another conversation. But do you believe that the that on the one hand, some of these roles will be taken over by robots and AI, but at the same time, is there an acceptance from travelers for more automation, or it should just be hidden in the background? They shouldn't even know it's happening.
Well, it depends on the category of hotels. For example, Mandarin Oriental, my favorite hotel, they will never allow robots to be the the guest facing I would say facade of the hotel.
Yep.
So high-end hotels like Four Seasons and Mandarin Oriental and so forth, they will always keep a human facade, but on the back end, housekeeping, line the line cooks in the kitchen, all of these back office operations will be automated, will be replaced. Humans will be replaced by robots, by automation, by IoT, for example, smart rooms that detect what are the preferences of the guest, or detect whether the guest is in the room or not, and then turn everything, all the utilities into economy mode and so forth. So all of these automations that are not visible to the human eye will be implemented. But yes, there will be a human facade for those properties. But for all the other properties, I mean, do you know how many people, for example, work today at the extended stay hotel? 3 or 4 people. Right. You go, you stay 1 or 2 weeks, and you rarely meet a human there already.
Okay.
So in this sense, you already have, for example, Omina hotels in Finland, Sonde here in the United States, for example, that they outsource all of everything that happens at the hotel, and you never see a human there. So in this sense, economy, budget, mid-scale hotels, even upper mid-scale hotels, humans can easily be replaced, not 100% today, but 50%, 75% 5 years from now. There may be a sprinkle of humans here and there, but machines can easily do the job, and automation.
So it's interesting that you mentioned Sonda there, because I spoke to Selena a few weeks back, and I also spoke to Casa Living, and they would both say that that there's a gap between the hospitality offering and what they're trying to do. So do you think that this is a generational thing, this drive for more automation?
It's not so much a generational thing. It's just out of necessity. I mean, in the United States, currently we have 1.73 million open positions in hospitality.
Yeah.
And by the way, we try to bribe our way into, to solve this issue by bribing people.
Yeah, that's not sustainable, is it?
It's not sustainable.
No.
Because this 1.73 million are out of 11 million open positions, and all of the other industries that also experience labor shortages, they pay much higher wages than us in hospitality. So in this sense, we cannot bribe people to come from other industries to our industry. So the only way going forward is, first of all, reevaluating your business processes, meaning you have a room service, forget it. You just shut down the room service. You have, the mini fridges in the rooms, forget it. Nobody has the bandwidth to maintain and constantly supply those refrigerators in the rooms. So such thing, these are business decisions. There's no, I would say, machinery or robotization here. These are just solid, I would say, business reasoning to eliminate some of those services. Your menu in the restaurant, instead of 10 pages, now it's already 2 pages only.
Sure.
So my point, the business processes that are happening simply out of necessity. In the same time, the same happens with technology, where technology is being implemented only because necessity is the mother of invention. You know that.
Mm-hmm.
For example, many hotels still continue, to send a housekeeper to knock on, to go from the room to room to see whether the guest has turned off the air conditioning or they have lowered the air conditioning, whether the lights are on, so that the hotel saves on utility costs, which are through the roof, by the way, 25% increase in utility costs year over year only. All of this can be done by IoT devices.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need humans to go and do the job, while IoT devices can automatically detect whether there's somebody in the room, or even take a step further, like what Marriott is doing, what Hilton is doing with their smart rooms, where the room itself and all of the IoT devices are linked to your profile through the PMS, to your loyalty profile and your loyalty and your preferences there. So if you like higher temperature or lower temperature, if you want cool rooms, if you want brighter lighting or whatever, it's automatically adjusted when the room knows that you're arriving. And so basically, the room knows you and you know the room. And if you like extra blanket or extra pillows, then automatically the room sends the application
a message.
Sends a message to housekeeping. Please send whatever to whatever room and so forth. So what they mean is that this is all of this simply eliminates the need for humans to do this very mundane and very, I would say, unproductive and non-creative jobs.
But those rooms that you talk about, Hilton and Marriott, I mean, those are kind of prototypes. Our hotels, a lot of the hotels seem to be pushing back, saying, well, this is expensive, this investment in technology and robotics in AI, and that they just want to get RevPAR back.
I understand, but by not providing the services that the exceptionally and exceedingly tech savvy and digitally savvy consumers want and demand, we are basically pushing people to go outside of the traditional hotels and go to short-term rentals. So in this sense, I would say that we're doing a disservice to ourselves by not adopting technology. And by the way, I mean, McKinsey and company came up with this big study that determined that the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation and digital adoption by 10 years. So just less than 2 years of pandemic has accelerated our guests demand that we adopt those services. I mean, from streaming services. Have you tried to watch your Netflix in a hotel room? It's a pain in the neck.
Or
not only to watch it, but then to delete your login information.
Your account, yeah.
It's a nightmare. So such elementary things, voice assistants. People have, millions of households, already 35% of households have voice assistant in their homes, like Alexa and so forth. How many hotels have this? So what I mean, such elementary things. And by the way, when talking about, for example, the cost of technology, people do not want to touch the house phone, the room phone. And people have been avoiding the room phones. It's full of germs long before the pandemic. Right now, they don't even want to go near it. The same, by the way, applies to the remote for the smart TV and so forth in the room, but the house phone. So how do they communicate with the property if they have an issue or they have a demand or they have a question? They prefer to do this via their own smartphones. So this all includes messaging. So guest messaging, there are 4 billion messaging users around the world. Yet at our hotels, less than 5% of them have guest messaging services enabled. And a guest messaging service, do you know what the cost is? $1 per room per month. That's it. So it's not the cost of technology. It's not the cost of technology. It's the understanding.
So then it must be mindset.
Yes. It's the understanding that our guests have changed. our guests are different compared to even 2 years ago. And and by the way, the same applies to many other technology applications. CRM, in Europe, for example, only 8% of repeat guests, of returning guests, are at independent hotels. Only 8% of guests on any given night are returning guests or repeat guests. And a repeat guest is 5 to 20 times cheaper than a new guest. So, but you cannot have a returning guest, you cannot increase this percentage if you don't have a CRM program in place and technology. So CRM technology is $5 per room per month, $7, $10 per room per month. So what I mean is that it's accessible to every single independent hotel. Yet, do you know what percentage of independent hotels have a CRM technology in place? 5%. So my whole point is that technology, it's expensive only for those who use this as an excuse and who lack the understanding to implement it.
So project forward for us 5 years, and what will have happened in terms of the makeup of hotel, people versus automation?
I believe that 5 years from now, we will be operating hotels with less than 50% of humans that we had back in 2019. And naturally, this will differ for the different categories of hotels. Sure. For example, Mandarin rental that I gave as an example will operate maybe with 75% of the people that they had back in 2019. But mid-scale, economy and budget hotels will be operating with, let's say, 25%. So I'm talking about average for the industry. I believe that we will need half of the people that we needed back in 2019.
So do you think there's a risk involved in implementing a lot of automation, sort of trying things and, potentially damage to brand if it goes wrong?
Well, I mean, that's why you have to be careful. You have to listen to your guests and implement and start where it, I would say, it's most prudent, first of all, and second, cover those bases which are in biggest demand, if you will, by your guests. There's a survey, for example, done by NYU, where I teach, NYU Tisch Center of Hospitality and Stay in Touch PMS, which provided very interesting insights into what hoteliers are planning to do in 2022, and they all relate around guest services. Sure. While people are at the property, from mobile check-in, and it's not only mobile check-in, it's the full contactless experience of the hotel, which is much more than just mobile check-in and mobile keys, to chatbots on the hotel website. Because I mean, if you don't have a chatbot to provide 24/7 service, people will call the hotel, and when they call the hotel, somebody has to pick up the phone. Who will pick up the phone? You have to hire people, to have bandwidth, to pick up the phone. So when it rings, so in this sense, chatbots will be one of those. CRM is another interesting. I would say I was personally surprised that CRM has elevated its position up there. So. But all around, guest services, the guest experience, and most importantly, the contactless guest experience. And that's what the pandemic taught us in our industry, that people do not want to touch other people, do not want to talk to other people, especially, talking to front desk clerks that are overworked, underpaid, and so forth, that do not have the bandwidth to even smile at you. You don't want to talk to them. You want to just go by the front desk and go straight to your room using your mobile key.
Okay, Max, I'm afraid we have to leave it there. Thank you so much for your time.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Stay tuned, everyone, for my colleague, Mitra Sorrell. She's going to be talking to Mount and Doohan about the guest experience in rentals. Thanks again, Max.
Take care.